Hey everybody, this is Ryan Smith and you are watching Secret Chord. In this video, we are going to unravel the mystery of what notes make up chords. We're going to talk about chord construction. So many of you may have strummed chords on your guitars, played chords on the keyboard, but this video is going to explain what notes make up chords and why, okay? Now we have to start with the basic building blocks of chords. We're going to discuss triads. Triads are 3-note chords, and there are 4 different types of triads. All right, now a triad is constructed of consecutive thirds. Thirds mean moving up a major scale 3 notes. All right, so let's use C major as our example. Right here, this is a middle C. So if I go up 3 notes, I find E. If I go up another third, I will land on G. So C, E, G, okay? That creates a triad. The first kind of triad we're going to discuss here, and I recommend that you memorize this information, is the major triad. That is the happy sounding chord, right? So it's made up of the root, or the first note of the scale, third and 5th note of the scale. In our example here, C, E, G, okay? Memorize that. Major triad is root, third, 5th. The second kind of triad we're going to learn is the minor triad. This would be the sad sounding chord. This is made up of the root, minor third, which means the third has been lowered by 1/2 step, and the 5th. Using C as our root, C minor would be C, E flat, and G. Those are the 3 notes that make up a C minor chord. Now you may have noticed if you're a guitar player that you strum a chord and you play 5 strings, 6 strings, but you're really only repeating, if you're playing a major minor chord, only those 3 notes. You're just repeating notes on the guitar, okay? So the third kind of triad we're going to talk about is the diminished triad. Now to diminish something means to lower or make it lesser. So what we're going to be doing is not only lowering the third by 1/2 step, but also lowering the 5th. So a diminished triad is root, minor third, and we call it a diminished 5th. The term for a 5th being lowered is diminished. Using C as our root, that would be C, E flat, and G flat. That's a C diminished triad. Just an FYI, this chord sounds very dark. This is the chord that in the old silent movies, when there was the piano player organist that they would play when the evil villain is putting the girl on the train tracks. I think you know what I'm talking about. It also makes a great transitional chord between any chords that have the root a whole step apart. You can pretty much step between any of those. All right, so now moving on to the 4th and final kind of triad. This is the augmented triad. Now to augment something means to raise or lift. So we are going to raise the 5th in an augmented triad. That would be 1, 3, augmented 5th, or a raised 5th. So C, E, G sharp, okay? Like I said, memorize those. Let's do a quick review here. The major triad is made up of the root, third, 5th. Minor triad is the root, minor third, or lowered by 1/2 step, 5th. Diminished triad is the root, minor third, diminished 5th. And the augmented triad is root, third, and raised 5th. Okay? So you want to memorize that. Now, just to get an example of a key that has sharps involved in the chords, let's use D as an example. Now, in the key of D major, we have 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. If you don't understand key signatures, I highly recommend check out this video at some point. This is understanding key signatures. But you know now, from what I'm telling you, D has F sharp and C sharp. So if we were to play a D major triad, the first note of the scale is D, the third is F sharp, so we got that F sharp, A. So a D major triad would be 1, 3, 5, D, F sharp, A. Now to make it a minor triad, we're gonna lower the third by a half step, which brings the F down to F natural. So D minor is D, F, A. Okay, now if we were to bring the fifth down another half step, this is D diminished, D, F, A flat. And if we were going to play D augmented, we'd go back to D, F sharp, raise the A to A sharp, okay? So that's D augmented. So memorize those four kinds of triads, understand those. Now the next critical step in the process is you have to remember two assumptions. Now with these assumptions, we can logically figure out what notes are in any seventh chord. And I'll show you how to do this. So the two assumptions are, number one, that the triad is major. The second assumption is that the seventh is minor. Okay, so let's take an example here. Let's look at a C7 chord, also known as a C or a C dominant 7 chord. So it doesn't say major nor minor in the name. So our two assumptions here are both going to apply. So C dominant 7 or C7 is going to be a major triad and a minor seventh. That's a bluesy sounding chord, right? C, E, G, B flat. Let's move on to C minor 7, okay? So we already assume that the seventh is minor, so the minor in the name of the chord is referring to the triad. It would be redundant to be talking about the seventh that we already assume is minor, okay? So a C minor 7 chord would be a minor triad, C, E flat, G, and then we assume the seventh is minor. So we go to a B flat. So that's C minor 7. Let's take another example of a seventh chord, C major 7th, okay? So we assume that the triad is already major, so the major in the name of the chord is not referring to the triad, it's referring to the seventh, which we would assume is minor, right? So C major 7th is going to be a major triad, C, E, G, and a major 7th, that would be B natural. So that's C major 7, okay? Now, if we see a chord labeled, for example, C minor 7 flat 5, that is going to make complete sense if we just follow the logic here. It's a minor 7th chord, okay? So that was C, E flat, G, B flat, but then we flat the 5th. So the G is going to go to G flat. That's a nice sounding chord. This is also known as a half diminished chord because as you can see here, C, E flat, G flat, that's a diminished triad, and we have a minor 7th, okay? So here's the thing, if we were to lower the 7th by yet another half step, so 2 half steps or a double flat, so that's B double flat, which is an enharmonic of, or the same note as A natural. This is called a fully diminished or a diminished 7th chord because it's a diminished triad and what we call a diminished 7th when you lower it by 2 half steps, okay? So that's yet another type of 7th chord. Now, a very cool sounding, haunting chord is the minor major 7th chord. So here we reverse both assumptions. We normally assume the triad's major, so now it's going to be minor. C, E flat, G, and we're going to put a major 7th on that. So that's C minor major 7. All right. So that will get you through figuring out most types of 7th chords. And if you remember the 4 triads and the 2 assumptions, logic will help you get there for figuring out what notes are in any chord. Like I said, you do need to understand key signatures. So check out my video on understanding key signatures if that's something that is new to you. I hope you found this video useful. This information can help you be a better songwriter, improviser, and in general musician. Please subscribe to Secret Chord if you find this video informational and hit the bell for notifications. My friends, I will see you next time.